And here we go. Welcome into your live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma fired up as always to be with you because the Lions are getting ready to go into the city of brotherly love for some Sunday night football.
Natalie Kerwin here with FanDuel Sports Network. The Philadelphia Eagles sit atop of the NFC conference, but the Lions, they're chasing them. They're on their heels.
Bradford Banta here, 22-year NFL veteran. Look, Detroit just humbled Washington by 22. If the Lions start fast in Philly, we're talking about a statement game the entire NFC has to hear.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Here we go. Good Thursday, everyone. Welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show. It's a crossover Thursday, so you know today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. What a show we have lined up for you. It was supposed to be a crossover Thursday, coordinating with the Locked On Philadelphia Eagles squad show, but they go live at the exact same time as us. So you've got Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, and Bradford Banta with you for the entire hour. Make sure you like today's show. Download the Prize Picks app. I already said that. Hey, how about you subscribe to the Locked On Lions squad show? Today's show you can get wherever you get your podcasts and, of course, on YouTube. Natalie Kerwin, Bradford Banta. Good Thursday. How are we both doing? I don't know who wants to start. That's on me.
Nat, Rose, please lead us off.
Happy Thursday, guys. We're feeling good today. Feeling good for a lot of reasons. You know, obviously I report on the Detroit Pistons as, you know, my main gig, you know, so they're rolling right now. They've won absolutely rolling. So had a great game last night, played without 7 rotational players and still won, still beat the Chicago Bulls, who obviously started their season on a hot stretch, but now they've lost 4 straight thanks to the Pistons. So I'm feeling good today. Feeling tired, had a lot of my morning coffee, not my matcha though. So I had to clear that up because I knew that question was coming, Bradford. Just straight up coffee today with a little creamer, not the mushroom coffee either. So we just went straight to the original stuff. But feeling good with Detroit sports right now, especially looking ahead to this Lions matchup with the Eagles, right? You know, Aiden Hutchinson said it perfectly this week. We have had this one circled on our calendars all season long. And we've had it circled too, right? Because this was a matchup we were looking forward to last season, right? Like Lions, Eagles, like top of the NFC. And it's looking that way again this year. But now hopefully Lions, hopefully they don't have, we're going to break down the injury report later on in the show, but hopefully they are not dealing with that going into Sunday. But I expect this to be a really good one, especially the way the Lions handled the Commanders game last week. And rolling with that momentum, you know, coming off the Vikings loss as well. What do you think, Bradford?
Yeah, no, look, Jake, I don't know what you did, you know, from Sunday until now, but I don't know if it's the tea you drank or the coffee you drank or the water you're drinking right now. But man, you sound awesome. You sound awesome.
We did need to give
I gotta hand it to you.
to
I mean, there's just some baritone to your voice right now.
Man,
what a guy. You got a little Barry White rolling. You know, I like it.
You're just far too kind. I am battling a cold. Thank you very much, sir. But Bradford, in his the most Bradford Banta way possible, giving me a little shit because I had some technical difficulties before we got today's show going, which I wouldn't expect anything less. I appreciate that. But hey, it's a Locked On Lions squad show. We are here to give each other a hard time. We're here to break down Lions against the Eagles and still kind of catch everybody up on what's going on with the Detroit Lions. That's why we've got Nat's Notes and the Coach's Corner on tap for you today. If you're watching with us live, go ahead and fire up that comment section. Always love to say hello to whoever we've got in the chat, beginning with Silver Surfer 5970. What's up, my guy? And then how about this? Maybe we even begin here from Mastrovi, DC, rock those readers and pluck some feathers. I think we start right there because this is, I feel like, gone more national than I would have expected. The fact that Dan Campbell, when we talked about it at length in the post-game show, but I feel like all of the talking heads now want to make this and continue to make this a huge thing that Dan Campbell is calling plays. Some of my guys in Dallas saying, "Oh, he looks like Professor Campbell now with the glasses and everything." I'm like, yeah, he kind of does. But this is not, again, it's not reinventing the wheel. And I think we all said that on Sunday. But Dan Campbell is a brilliant offensive mind. And I think nationally people lose sight of that because he's the soundbite guy, bite the kneecaps. And that's everything that they equate Dan Campbell to as a head coach, as a motivating guy. But Bradford, from a coach's perspective, yes, he's all that and so much more, but he's also just a brilliant X's and O's play caller.
No, he has come out and said, I have ideas and I want to put them out on the field. I want these X's and O's to start breathing. He goes, I have ideas. I go to sleep with ideas. I wake up with ideas. I dream about ideas. I have them during the day that he wants to get done offensively. And now there's nothing keeping him from getting this done. And you talk about a team effort from the coaching staff and understanding what team is all about. These guys put together a great offensive game plan, and I felt like Dan called a great game this past Sunday versus the Washington Commanders. Now, let's have a repeat performance versus the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles, who seem to have just a hair of turmoil inside the locker room and possibly going upstairs into the coaching staff as well. It's something that we can touch on later in the show, but if we want to touch on it now, that'd be great. But at the same time, I think that Dan has this team believing and then wanting to work towards a victory this Sunday night at the Link in Philadelphia.
When you talk about him always having ideas, I feel like he's constantly, the wheels and the gears are turning in this man's head. He cannot relax. I feel like Holly Campbell, his wife, has come out and said that too. He's constantly drinking his venti coffees. I think he has 2 or 3 a day. I support it. He wants to find ways to, Jake, he's got his too. Like, I
even got my Lions cup. How about that, gang?
You know what? That right there, you are a true fan through and through. How many cups is that for you today?
Well, we had an early morning doing the sports reports, so we've been up since 4 a.m. So it feels like the day's half over. So this is cup number 2 in terms of the thermals, but we've added multiple double espresso shots. So you stop counting and stop quantifying at that point. It's doing the job.
Okay, MCDC would be proud of this effort right now. But, to continue on with my point, I think he's constantly trying to find ways to make this team better, even with the circumstances of guys out, or maybe the offense is struggling and he wants to step in and help John Morton if there is a little bit of a disconnect between him and the guys. Obviously, before the Commanders game, we had heard that in the locker room, and we didn't really understand what was going on between him and players, leading up to that game. So when Dan did step in, we saw a notable difference during that game. And so I'm here for it. I think Dan is a brilliant mind, and I think he brings a lot to the table. And he just, why not use someone that has more ideas, that wants to continue coming up with ways to attack these other teams. And you need that, especially going into on the road to play the defending champs. You're going to need all that firepower and that juice. And I'm curious what ideas he's going to have on Sunday night.
Here's a question I have. Where did the storyline begin that there was disconnect with John Morton and the players? Where did that begin? I don't ever remember seeing that, hearing that. I just felt like it was pulled out of the air just because Dan was calling plays last game. Did I miss something?
Yeah, I was reading stuff online in the locker room when they were going around talking. I saw a clip with Taylor Decker. I believe there was a few other players as well. Jake, did you see this too? Or am I
No, not with Taylor Decker. Go on.
Oh, did you see it with another player?
No, I had one that was just a talking head from a national outlet, but go on.
Okay. Yeah, it just sounded like they weren't on the same page. He hinted at it. He didn't come out and say that straight up, like, yeah, we're not working well with John Morton, but he basically said, I think I'm trying to, I want to go back so I don't misquote this, just so I can find the video for you guys. But it just sounded like there was some sort of miscommunication. Taylor Decker was asked about, I guess it was the game before the Commanders, which was what? Not the Bucks, not
Vikings.
Vikings. Yes.
Yeah.
Just miscommunication during the game. And I think someone alluded to, was it the play calling? Or was it, the play calling that was out there? And he gave some sort of answer that, it kind of alluded to that maybe it had to do something with John Morton. But then when John Morton was asked about if there's some struggle, like in the press conference, John Morton gave sort of a different answer. So that's where people started coming up with, this illusion of, okay, players think one thing, John Morton thinks another. It was basically like, why was this loss so bad? And guys were giving reasons for it. That's what I took from it. And so I guess that's the reason I'm saying that there was this disconnect, and that's what other media members took from it as well.
I did see that. Yeah. Now that you put it that, I do remember that now. Just the disconnect, I think, is a good word for it. And a couple of different sports radio host, the Dan Patrick Show I listen to all the time. And we're just touching on just from a higher level organizational, org chart of offensive coordinator brought in to do this. All of a sudden his role changes, and it could be with any team where, okay, you have to, self-reflect. Why did his role change? Because he wasn't upholding the duties of said role well enough, or what Dan Campbell deemed to be well enough. And I think, you're plugging, and I'm guilty of it too. We're all guilty of it without being in between those walls every day in Allen Park and plugging and playing. But the fact of the matter remains, the offensive coordinator was doing job of calling plays. He's not now. And in a 1-game sample size that we have to go off of, it was a beneficial change, which human nature would then lead you to at least speculate, okay, what does the future hold for John Morton? And Bradford, you could give much better perspective from a coach's standpoint of, hey, we can say this is a collaboration, and it absolutely is. But at the same time, the human element of, wait a second, I just lost a huge portion of what my job responsibilities are or were because I'm no longer calling plays.
Yeah, John is easy to throw underneath the bus just because of the because of what was seen and what is perceived to have happened. Now, we're putting words in people's mouths, and I think that's totally unfair for John Morton, because this is a collaborative effort. This is a team. Everybody that has access to that building as a player, staff member, is part of the team. And sometimes, did John have to swallow a little bit of pride by not calling plays? Yes. How much is he involved in designing the plays to come up with? I'd say heavily, as is the rest of the offensive staff. Now, the sequence in which those plays are called, that fell on Dan, and I felt that Dan wanted to make that change. Now, everything runs through him with his coaching staff, and it's on him, the final, because he is the voice of the Detroit Lions football team. And I just don't want to be so quick to throw Johnny under the bus. And, he has heavy input. And we talked about it on Sunday night, with Dan's head coaching responsibilities, who's running the meetings? I'd be willing to bet that John's running the meetings. So, and then Dan will run the meetings if he's able to. But Johnny has been around this league for a long time. He has been on many different staffs. So has Dan. And they have become friends. They've been on the same staff as assistant coaches. And it's I think it's a good collaboration. They just needed, it's like getting a sign from a catcher. And meaning, hey, give me the fastball. And the pitcher's up there, meaning Dan Campbell. And he's like, no, give me another pitch. And this is what he's thinking about. And I don't know if you've, oh gosh. Do y'all know who Greg Maddux is?
Yes, the Maddox. It's a stat, a complete game.
Yeah.
With under 100 pitches because he's so efficient.
Yeah. So he pitched a certain player. He allowed a player to get a hit with a certain pitch. And the catcher asked him about it after the game. And this was during the regular season. And Maddox said, I wanted him to get a hit because whenever we face him in the playoffs and it comes down to, cutting time and we really need to get this guy out, then this is how I'm going to pitch him. So it's kind of like a smoke and mirrors type deal. My point being is that Dan's always thinking, how can I make this team better? And that's what good leaders do. They make they massage. They're constantly massaging. Even though you think you have a finished product, they're constantly massaging that ball of clay to make it better. And Dan felt like he needed to, take hold of the offensive play calling. And it worked out for them versus the Commanders. Now, there's constant communication between he and Johnny on the headset during the game and during the week. And if I was Johnny at this time, I'd be in Dan's office. Hey, on 3rd and 4, what are you thinking? And the ball's on the plus 45. What are you thinking? And you start just going over all these scenarios. And the beauty of it is that Dan can learn from John, and then Johnny can learn from Dan on his thought process and getting into his head. So if he gets the play calling responsibility given back to him, he knows how Dan wants a game to be called.
Chess, not checkers. That's what I took out of it. A little bit, staying one step ahead.
And
checkers.
I was going to say, I have the exact wordage now to read to you guys just after that Vikings loss. So John Morton had told the media that he felt protection was the biggest fault in the loss in that Week 9 game against the Vikings. But Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker both felt differently about that when media asked them post-game. And so Graham Glasgow said, I think this game was more about scheme stuff that they did than straight up actual O-line play. They schemed us up pretty good. Then Taylor Decker added, it wasn't as much as guys just one-on-one, man-to-man getting their ass beat. It was more just being on the same page. So those were their post-game comments about it. So I guess that's where the word disconnect is being thrown around between John Morton and the players. They just had different perspective on how that loss played out. But I think now, after seeing how last week went against Washington, maybe some things were obviously cleaned up with Dan Campbell stepping in there. And maybe that's a big reason Dan decided to, put himself in the middle of that as well. So that quote unquote disconnect didn't continue to fester.
Those. And so if I was Hank Fraley, I'd be pissed. Mm-hmm. Because that's my guys talking about scheme. Who's designing the protections? Fraley's involved in that.
Right.
And that's where I would have the closed door meeting and be like, guys, let's figure this out. And obviously they did. They figured it out versus the Commanders. Now let's go figure it out versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what I was going to say too. Like, let's not also factor in the fact that's a terrible way to put it, but let's factor in the Washington Commanders are significantly worse than at least just banged up in every other aspect of it, where sometimes, it is good to go against an inferior opponent to have that get right game. And I hate that terminology, but at the same time, the results kind of speak for themselves in that facet. But also, I did want to mention, we had a little baseball talk Tarek Skubal, Cy Young Award winner, back-to-back years. I mean, we're just all over the place on a Locked On Lions squad show here. That we're showing our ability to be multi-sport coverage right there. But shout out to Tarek Skubal, he's the best.
Scoobs,
Let's go
unreal.
Detroit. Let's go Detroit.
All right, we got Nat's notes coming up next. What are we talking about, Nat?
Yeah, we got some big names dinged up on the injury report right now. Don't love to hear that, but hopefully that changes come Sunday. We're going to go through those next on Nat's Notes.
Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. I love that. It's just so perfectly put. And if you need parts fast for a project, well, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5. Promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Favorite part of the program, it's Nat's Notes, and I kick it over to FanDuel Sports Only, where the outcomes always subject to change, whatever it is, odds
Always subject to change.
I need to hear it more often. Come on.
It's like ingrained in my head now. I have to say it every time. It's like I dream about it. Not. Anyway. Okay, Nat's Notes, best segment of the show, as you said. Let's go. Let's see. So Wednesday practice report, there were a lot of guys that showed up on the list. A little unexpected because a lot of the names that popped up were not injuries that we saw in the game against Washington on Sunday. So let's just go down the list here. Aiden Hutchinson, elbow. Penei Sewell, ankle. Sam Laporta, ankle. Brock Wright, back. Sione Vaki, ankle. Terrion Arnold, concussion. We knew about that one. And Kirby Joseph, knee. He's still nursing that. Continues to miss practices. And Dan Campbell noted it is taking a little bit longer than anticipated to get him back, which we don't love to hear that. So it is possible that some of those new injuries did present themselves in the days after the game. But at least with Aiden Hutchinson, he did say this week that he is expected to play on Sunday. Doesn't think it's going to be a big deal, and thinks he'll be all set to go against the Eagles. So fingers crossed for that one, because obviously they're going to need his help. But when you do look at the Eagles injury report, they have a pretty banged up O-line right now. If you go down that list from Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and Tyler Steen. So the Lions could obviously take advantage of that. I'll kick it to you, Bradford, first. With that in mind, I mean, how does that affect, the Eagles game plan, I guess, going into this? I mean, not looking at it from an Eagles perspective, but I guess how can Detroit take advantage of that with a banged up, O-line on the Eagles side?
Yeah, so think of it this way. Do you run on your elbow? No.
So you can play through that.
You can definitely play through that. He's going to be braced up. He's going to be ready to roll. He's getting on the plane. He's going to be fired up and ready to go. He came out publicly and said this game, and that I believe you alluded to it earlier, this game has been circled on our schedule for a while. So Aiden Hutchinson is going to play. Penei Sewell is going to play. Sam Laporta is going to play. All these guys. Vaki, I don't know about that. Arnold with the concussion, we have to see how he comes out. Kirby Joseph, we'll see. But you're talking about three of your power players with Hutch, Sewell, and Laporta. They're gonna be ready to go. And the back is a funny thing, just talking about right. And with blocking and just the amount of stress that you put on your back, we'll see if Wright is ready to go. And that's why they took the steps, because they signed, I can't remember the name, Nat, maybe you can help me out or y'all can help me out, but they did sign another tight end to the practice squad this past week, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember reading that correctly. But those guys are ready to play. They're going to be ready to play with the amount of 12 personnel, which is 1 running back and 2 tight ends, hence 12 personnel.
Yeah, do we need another lesson on how my
we're going to do it. It's going to be a daily lesson on personnel whenever we talk about that. But also don't forget that you could also use Dan Skipper as the extra tight end if Wright is not able to play. Because Wright, granted, he does have some catches, but he's primarily a blocker. And if you're going to give it away, whether you're running or pass protecting, I'm okay with Skip being in there. He gets the job done. So, and hats off to him.
Real quick, I would also add too, just in Bradford, you could probably speak to this as well. Just whatever level of football you're at, as the season prolongs, sometimes those Wednesday injury reports get lengthier and lengthier for one reason or another. And not all injury reports are created equal by any means. And I'm not insinuating that, guys are on a Wednesday injury report when they shouldn't be. I'm certainly not implying that. But at the same time, Wednesday, all of a sudden, especially, for a team like the Eagles that played on Monday, that Wednesday injury report can be, let's just say, especially in the month of November, lengthier than it might be, with a couple of days. Let's just say those Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays can sometimes do wonders in the healing process. Especially in the month of November.
The middle of the week is the NFL's answer to the NBA's answer of load management. That's basically what it is. Because they want those guys ready to play whenever the game comes around. And they're going to be 100, not, at this point in the season, nobody's 100%. So you have to play with whatever's ailing you at the time.
All right. Well, to keep going with the injuries, maybe some positives to look forward to. Rodrigo, he is in the final week of his injury evaluation process. Let's go. Can we get some fist bumps?
Let's go. That's my guy. I freaking love Rodrigo.
Close to be returning to game action, you guys. Possibility he could return to this game? It's hard to say. I don't know. When they projected his timetable, they did say this was a possibility. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess I don't have any updates as far as what he's looking like at practice right now and if he will be available for Sunday. But as far as ramping him back up, I know they're just going to be as careful as they can with him and just wait until they really feel like he is ready to get back in there. But I mean, I know they did that with Aleem McNeil, and then the first game back in, he exceeded expectations. Didn't he have a sack in his first game back? If I remember right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Sack and a pass defended, pass knocked down.
Yeah. Well. And Dan Campbell was like, I just wanted him to get in there and just feel like he could keep up with everyone. I didn't have anything I needed him to do, but he far went beyond like what I expected of him. So who knows? That could be a pleasant surprise for Sunday night as well. An update on DJ Reed. I mean, Dan Campbell said, he might not get back on the field until early December. But DJ Reed just said this week he feels he's ready to go now. So that could be an update to the secondary here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And then to end this on a positive note, we get his dad listening on our show quite often. Practice squad signee Ahmad Hassanein. Okay, he is back in the building.
Let's go.
He suffered a pectoral injury before the season started. So the Lions, they had to release him with an injury settlement. He had to sit out a specific period of time plus an additional 3 weeks. So before he could re-sign with the Lions, he had to sit out obviously for that amount of time. But his dad has commented on our show time and time again. He is working so hard. He wants to be with this Lions team. He is waiting. He's got this hunger. And if you guys remember, he said when he got drafted, I'll die for you, coach. I just went across that video again this morning, and I just, you can't help but love a player like that. So, having him back on the practice squad, injury aside, I like that he's back with the guys now. Jake, I guess I'll throw it to you. We heard so much about him during, training camp and how hard he was working. And Dan would comment on, hey, like this guy is ready to work. And we were excited just to get him reps, and we're really excited that we drafted him. How much upside do you feel like he can have with this Lions group?
Yeah, it's at a position too where I feel like it's the way I would describe it, it's a noisy position where you remember their highlight reel plays more than some of the other spots on the defense. And for right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not talking smack about the edge rusher position because it's obviously so important. But if he gets sacked, the place is going to go nuts. And obviously the Lions on the road this week, but just in general, he has that luxury of playing a position where there's big momentum swinging plays. It's like an alley-oop in basketball. It's only 2 points, but it gets the people going. So I think for that reason,
that reference.
Yes, thank you. I think there's a ton of upside, and any type of, I've talked about a boost in morale in the locker room as well, and how difficult it can be to quantify that. But man, I mean, we've seen it time and time again with this Lions team and other teams in the National Football League. The Lions are certainly not unique to having, their fair share of injuries. But when a guy comes back and they're contributing in meaningful ways, it's just everybody feeds off of that. So when you got 10 other guys feeding off of the guy that's, recovered and worked his way back, it's monumental for a team.
I want to pump the brakes a little bit.
No, we overreact. We get crazy. There's okay. All gas, no brakes.
Bradford always keeping us. What do you got? What do you got for us?
Let's keep it up. Okay, let's keep it all in perspective. Keep it all in perspective. And what I mean by that?
What fun is that?
Hey, because I'm locked on Lions, man. Yeah. And we're a squad right now. So
if that's not a coach coming out with
we're one pride. We're one pride. But we got to think through this. How many plays does he have with the Detroit Lions in the regular season? Zilch.
Same number as me.
Yeah, he's got the same number as you. He's got the same number of plays as you in the NFL. Am I right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So we're talking
if I didn't have that career-ending collarbone injury.
I know. A
a
lot of ifs out there.
Jake on this show.
There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs. Can he bring juice to the defense? Yeah, he can bring juice. But I see him when he's back, when he's on the field, I see him being a rotational player and used in specific situations. Now, it's up to him to take advantage of those situations and go out on the field and perform. That's what I'm going to be looking for whenever he does make his way back. Well, he's already back in the locker room. So out on the practice field and then on the playing field, he has to make the 48, the active roster, to be able to participate in the game. Now, once he does that, I don't think you're going to see a DNP next to his name after the final gun has been, after the clock ticks down to 000. He will have played in the game. And then it's up to him, with him learning from the veterans. And look, there's no better person or people to learn from than who he has sitting in front of him. And I'm talking about Aiden. You can draw from Marcus Davenport's experience. You can even draw from Muhammad's and other D linemen. I'm just talking about the edge rushing room. But in the defensive line perspective, you can draw from the guys on the inside as well. So, let's not anoint him yet, but I'm pulling for him, and I want him to play well, because my man, he's got some great sound bites. I'll give him that much. But now, show me. That's all I ask. Show me.
Do you have a rebuttal to this, Jake? Like he's waiting to say something.
No, I, it's like Bradford said, we are a squad, and I am the unhinged, off the rails individual. And I appreciate Coach Bradford Banta putting his arm around me through the screen here. I could feel the love. Yeah, the number of coaches I've had to tell me, let's reel it in a little bit here.
I'll never reel you in. So I'm here to voice my opinion.
That's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do in the Lockdown Lions Squad show. We give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it's up to the audience. They can, not that we're creating a Team Bradford or Team Jake here by any means, but we're just giving different perspectives, and it's all happens on Nat's notes. How about that?
And then I'm just the rose to keep the thorns from.
Yes, you are. And we appreciate you, Nat.
That's right. Everybody's got their role. I love that.
They do. Yeah. So Bradford, let's just keep the opinions rolling. Let's get to Bradford. Let's get to Coach's Corner at this point. Right? This is a perfect segue.
Can we do that in the next segment? Jake.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Coach's Corner. It's coming up next, folks. Back in just a second. Hey, today's episode of the Lockdown Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, it can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work, family, and everything else. This season, it's so important to reach out and check in with friends, family, and even yourself. Just like checking in on a teammate or reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a while can lift your spirits, reaching out for therapy can make a real difference too. BetterHelp makes the first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. BetterHelp matches you with a therapist who fits your needs, and you can switch anytime if it's not the right match. Over 5 million people have used BetterHelp already, and with 30,000 therapists available, finding support really is just a few clicks away. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take that first step. Listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockdown. That's BetterHelp.com/lockdown. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockdown, because taking that step towards support might just leave you wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? Time for the Coach's Corner. Let's go. We got Coach Bradford Banta. Take it away.
Yeah, no, hey, let's talk about, how are the Lions going to win at the Link? So, let's first talk about the weather here, Jake, Nat. Let's talk about the weather. So the weather is going to be ideal for Sunday night. We're talking probably 50, 40 degrees, somewhere around there. They're going to have a little bit of rain in the morning, but I'm sure the field's going to be covered, and they're going to, it's going to be a great night for football. Let's date ourselves a little bit. And I believe, was it 12 or 13 whenever the Lions played the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link in the snowiest game that I had ever been a part of. So you go out. This was all right. Now this is post 2000. So I'm asking you two, do y'all remember that game?
I remember it now. I'll sorry. I'm just excited to jump in because this was like peak Sunday football watching for young Jake Riepma, who I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I had to have a jersey for every team that was playing on the TV at that time. Drove my mom crazy because every Sunday I was wearing 20 different jerseys. But I can vividly remember being in our living room watching Calvin Johnson's face be full of snow and thinking, I was just so jealous. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So now fast forward I played in one snow game, and it's fun while you're playing, but if you have to be on the sidelines for an extended time, we didn't have the heaters on the sidelines. Your helmet gets all cold and everything. So as long as you're playing, it's fun. But that wait to get back out on the field can be tough. But I remember that game so well.
Yeah. So I was up in the booth for the game, but I was down there on the sidelines for warm-ups. So we go in. It started during warm-ups. It started snowing just a little bit. All right. We go in. And then while we were inside, it just decided to dump. And when I mean dump, it was probably 6 inches of snow by the time kickoff came around. And so we're walking up to the booth. We get our way up to the booth, and we're like, how can we relay information to our coaches on the sidelines if we can't even see the field? That's how heavy it was snowing. And you couldn't tell. So we were wearing the silver pants, white jerseys, the Honolulu blue socks, and then obviously the silver helmets. So you know how you have in the NFL, they gave you still shots of four each play, and you get sideline and end zone. You couldn't see our players on the pictures. All you could see was Philadelphia because they were in green, and they were in their dark green, and they had the green helmets, and then Kelly green? Not Kelly green, but just wherever, Philly green or whatever it is. Yeah. And I think they had their dark gray pants or maybe even their green pants. So you can make them out. And then we had to radio down to our coaches and be like, hey, who is that lined up on your sidelines? Because we couldn't see. We were it was just, it was comical almost. And then if we wouldn't have attempted an extra point in that game, it would have been the first game, I believe, in 60 years that no kick would have been tried in an NFL game. We ended up missing it. Jason ended up missing it. Hansen missed it because, God, it's like you take those, the little shovels that you bring out to the beach for your kids and stuff like that. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to shovel all that snow out of the way. And it finally let up. It finally let up somewhere, I'd say about halftime, somewhere around there. And then all of a sudden we forgot to tackle. We completely could not tackle anybody.
I remember that.
And that's
Shady
boy. He just went off. He went off in the second half. But anyway, new game, new year, new team. So let's dive into how the Detroit Lions are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So, we're just talking about how do you want to attack them? So you have an offense that's ranked second in the league in points per game. So I believe it's at like 31.4. And the Eagles defense, they're 22nd in the league and allowing, the yards per game at like 336. And we had just dropped 500 plus, I think, versus the Commanders, talking about yards in total yards in the game. But then they're middle of the pack in total defense by yards. I think with their secondary banged up a little bit, you have to attack the intermediate part of the field. And what I mean by that is probably the 8 to 19, 18 yards past the line of scrimmage. You have to put the stress on the linebackers and the safeties to really take advantage of what Philadelphia is going to be giving you, because granted, their defensive front four is pretty stout. But you also have a tandem with Sonic and Knuckles who are able to run the ball and an offensive line who are able to make holes. So how do you attack with the running game? It's going to be probably the same thing every week, but you just disguise it. You mask it a different way. And just talking about a duo with two double teams or an inside zone play, because you want to keep Hurts and the Saquon Barkley and all those guys on the bench, and you want to keep the crowd out of it. You don't want to get the Link crowd, the Philadelphia fans going. And then also, whenever you get down, and this is where the showdown is going to be, and I'm going to be interested to talk about it at the end of the game on Sunday, is whenever Detroit gets into the red zone. because Philly's defense is fairly stout in the red zone, and Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, does an excellent job of calling defenses, and been his whole career, in his historical career in the NFL. He's done a good job with that. So how does Detroit design plays just to create layups? And you're going to be, it's that mesh concept. Other people call it picks. You don't want to call it picks because that invokes flags for offensive pass interference. So picks, crosses, and then leak concepts with the backs. And just similar to last week, that's where you take advantage of your running backs and your tight ends to run misdirection plays and make the linebackers and safeties have to change directions. And that's where you're going to create space, and also keeping Goff clean. So again, if Tim O'Neill doesn't have to wash Jared Goff's uniform at the end of the game, hey, it's going to be a plus. It's going to be a plus for the Detroit Lions. So, but how do you get started? So, and you're going to script the first 10 to 15 plays. Included in those plays, you're going to have the quick RPO to St. Brown. You get Gibbs on a swing or a possible angle route. I prefer the angle route. That's what he scored on versus the Commanders. And then you start working on that, and then wanting to keep JMO involved as much as you can. Towards the end of that script, you're gonna mix in a play action shot to JMO, and let's hope it hits home. And it's going to be play action, and then you also want to mix in maybe one screen, and that maybe even beat a Montgomery, and you just let the hogs out, and you just let them run. And you just let them run down the field, and then you let the running back just follow right behind. So, and then possibly even tempo. We'll see. I'm curious to see how they're going to attack Philadelphia, but just initially in getting started, that's how I would go about doing it.
Yeah, we got to see the Eagles on full display, that defense led by Vic Fangio, who deserves a lot of credit because he is just a mastermind defensively. They added Jalen Phillips at the trade deadline, obviously an impact player already in his first game. I think he had a fumble recovery and was really good for Miami, but obviously the Dolphins wanting to offset some impactful players there for their future. But hey, I love the coach's corner because now I know what to watch for. Any other parting final thoughts on the coach's corner before we tie a bow on this thing?
Look, I'll touch on the defense briefly on how you stop them. Obviously, with Saquon Barkley, you have to take care of him, but you have to cage Jalen Hurts, and you can't allow him outside of the pocket. Make him beat you inside the pocket, and then you just collapse it down on him. So, and then is the Philadelphia offense getting their soap opera script straightened away before this game? That's what I'm going to be curious to see.
Look forward to it. Nat, you ready to tie a bow on this thing?
Let's do it. Let's
All
tie
right.
a bow.
Let's do it. Back in just a second on Locked On Lions. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. You just pick more or less on at least two player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, and that includes California, Texas, and Georgia. I've been using Prize Picks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. That's right. It keeps every game exciting. I love picking my favorite players, but what I really love is the new Stacks feature. It's a game changer. You can pick more on any player's same stats. That's 3-pointers, threes, assists, whatever it is, and stack them all in your lineup. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Final segment of the program. Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, Bradford Banta. Just in case you're joining us live, this is the Locked On Lions Squad Show. You can hear the episode in its entirety wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. And kudos to our guy Bradford Banta. I love the LinkedIn incorporation as well. We're not missing out on the LinkedIn audience. I haven't checked my LinkedIn in a while. I saw a notification. I was like, yeah, Bradford. Hell yeah.
I also thought that was funny.
Share that LinkedIn love.
Hey, man, you got to let everybody know.
That's right. That's right. Cast a wide net. I absolutely
know who's watching.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. I miss the LinkedIn days where you could and maybe you still can, but you could endorse people for their skills. And this was like coming out right in college, and that was a great way to, maybe a pickup line like, hey, I endorsed you on LinkedIn for public speaking. Can you maybe that was just at business school.
Is that how you found Sid?
No. Well, that's a great question. Sid went to Arizona State. They like to claim they're a great broadcasting school. Arizona State, we all know it goes. There's partying and everything else. So even though she went to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, there was probably more partying going on than anything else.
Can you imagine if that's how you actually asked her on your first date?
No.
Just added you on LinkedIn, endorsed you for being a good journalist, for good, whatever, and asked her out. That would be the ultimate.
Would that have worked for you, Nat, at Michigan State? You were in their J school, right?
I was, yeah. Which also, yes, great J school. Shout out MSU.
There you go. It's one of the better ones in the Big Ten, just not quite as good as Northwestern's.
All right. You want to start with that right now? Is that how we want to end this podcast right now?
I struck a nerve. Hey, which, by the way, no, Michigan State, I know we're off the rails, but that's usually, we made it 52 minutes before going off the rails. Good job by us. But Michigan State vacating some wins, Nat. What is up with that?
We don't need to. We're not going down this road.
Too soon. That's my bad. All right. Let's get back to what we can all be on the same page for. I'm sorry, Nat. I didn't mean to tease you and your alma mater.
Making nerves here, Jake. What are we doing?
The private chat's just blowing up right now. Nat sending the middle finger emoji. It's like, forget you, man. But in all seriousness,
I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
I was going to say, Radford's like, I want nothing to do with this. I'll be back to give my score prediction.
I was bringing us all back here.
See you later.
We're coming back now. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, USC, they got a great journalism program. My ADHD is going crazy right now, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. That's on me.
Focus.
Yeah, focus. All right.
Thank you.
Lions, Eagles, 7-2 Eagles, 6-3 Lions. I had this question.
That microphone. Lions, Eagles.
Yeah, there we go. This question that I brought up on my show this week: are the Eagles at 7-2 the most drama-filled, not necessarily underachieving by any means, but it just seems like chaos follows them despite being 7-2. And I don't know how much longer. It's like the Nick Sirianni way. Somehow, some way, there's all this noise, drama, and everything else, but they win a lot of games because they're a really good team.
I think that I haven't seen the book on the sidelines in between offensive series, but they have a lot of talented players, and you are what your record is, and they're 7-2, and they are also the defending world champions. You have to give them the respect that they deserve, because there was not much, if any, turnover on that team. Now, like the Lions, they constantly, Howie Roseman does an excellent job of stirring the probably bottom half of the roster of trying to improve that roster, very similar to what the Lions do as well with Brad Holmes. And you have to give him a lot of credit there because if I'm not mistaken, they were active at the trading deadline.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips.
Yeah. And then unfortunately, was it Jari Alexander, has taken basically a leave of absence right now, which leaves their secondary a little bit in the lurch. And the term that I like to use is, Jari's been in the league since 17-18. So as a DB, especially cornerback, and playing as well as he did whenever he initially came into this league, he's starting to leak a little oil on the field. Now, I don't know what the off the field issues are, and that's not for us to judge. But he basically stood up and said, "Hey, I just need a leave of absence," and they honored that, and that's very commendable on the Philadelphia Eagles' part.
Yeah, when I look at all this drama, Jason Kelce made some comments this week, and he said, "I think this is getting overblown, and it's just way out of proportion." I've been in that locker room with these guys for far too long, so the media is going to do what they do. I guess kind of what we talked about earlier, right? With the miscommunication in the Lions locker room with the coordinators and the players and Dan Campbell and what's going on there. It's like, who knows what's actually going on behind closed doors. But AJ Brown going on that live stream and airing his grievances, he's been around for a while. He's a great player. It's a deep wide receiver room on that team. Like, whatever he feels, he has the right to, I guess, air his feelings about it. But I think, and his role in the offense, but I don't know, for Jason Kelce to come out and say, like, he's a great teammate. You shouldn't look that far into it. They're going to figure it out. There's going to be ups and downs. This is a great team. They just won the Super Bowl last year. Like, it's going to be fine. I don't know. I just feel like it has been all the talk this week, but I feel like they're going to figure it out. I don't know. I feel like it is affecting them in some sort of way, obviously, because you just see some holes. It does affect the culture when guys are coming out and saying that to the public and not keeping things tight-lipped, I guess. So it's not a great look for AJ to do that, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, he's airing the dirty laundry.
He is. And it's not always your place to air everybody's dirty laundry and what's going on inside the closed doors. And that firsthand, Bradford, I guess, just being around so many locker rooms over the years. Like, you just shouldn't be doing that. So.
No, at all. At all. I agree with you.
Well, we will see if or how it impacts the play on the field. Sunday night football, which means a late night post-game show. So stay up late with us, and we'll talk you through whatever happens. It's been a phenomenal show on a Thursday. Guys, I think we wrap up with our score predictions. I'm feeling confident this week. You guys, you care if I lead off? I just feel really.
When you're feeling confident, you got to go. Go.
31-21. Just a nice, solid statement win from the Detroit Lions. 2-possession game. Offense clicking. Defense makes enough stops. And on a standalone national audience, Sunday Night Football, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth in the booth saying, "Here's a guy and here's a team. There is no doubt about it." But I like the Lions.
Wow. You got your impression down pretty good.
I love Chris Collinsworth.
I am impressed. All right. Let's see. I'm going to roll with, let's go Lions. Let's see. Lions 30. Eagles 27.
Ooh, I like it.
We'll keep it close.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. So the Lions, to really establish themselves, you have to go in to a hostile environment, which the link is going to be on Sunday night. And this starting the second half of the season, you have to be able to win in these type of environments on the road. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to come down to ball security. So I see the Lions possibly +2 in the turnover margin. And I'm calling for 35-27 is going to be my final. Lions.
I love it. We all have the Lions in the 30s with Professor Campbell leading the way, calling the plays. But hey, it's been a hell of a show. Great work, my friends. And thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like today's video. Subscribe to Locked On Lions. Matt Derry will be back with you tomorrow on The Daily Show and today, too. He records every day. Your team each and every day. That's the Locked On motto. But we appreciate you guys showing us some love today. And we will be with you post-game after the Lions and Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Waiting all day for Sunday night. For Bradford Banta and Natalie Kerwin, I'm Jake Riepma. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon or wherever you're listening to this. And we will talk to you on Sunday. Go Lions!